Hey, I'm Krista Wex. You are listening to MSP Sound on KFAI, and I am ecstatic. I have Matt from Orchid Eaton here via Zoom. Hey.
Here we are on Zoom still.
Still, I know. Last time we saw each other was actually in studio. Was that 2019?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Seems like an eternity ago.
It does. It does. Things were very different then. Oh, Matt, how are you?
You know, I am hanging in there. I am felt very fortunate throughout all this to, maintain an even strain and feeling very supported as much as has been able from distance friends and family. So, I mean, all things considered, doing okay. And hope you're doing the same too, because I know it's been, you know, a pretty challenging experience for everybody, on different levels. But thankfully, feeling like the season is matching the mood a little bit, that vaccinations are starting to roll out, and life is starting to happen again for a lot of people, myself included, which is a really, really good feeling.
Absolutely. I know it has been a time. I can't believe it's been over a year. I really thought this would just be hey, just a couple months. We'll be back to normal, like no big deal. But here we are.
Mm-hmm.
And thank goodness for Zoom. And even more, thank goodness for new local music from Orchid Eaton, which is why you're here. Where all the ends meet, coming out April 22nd.
Yeah, April 23rd. Yep.
23rd. So sorry. Let's unpack this. How did this happen? Was this a quarantine made album?
Yeah, I mean, it's really good to kind of consider having these songs see the light of day finally. I mean, Brian Moen, my bandmate, and I started working on these before everything kind of shut down, and in the interim too, I had a new baby as well, so my task was to kind of finish as much as I could before the baby showed up. And then we worked on it throughout quarantine. We were already kind of had an established working relationship where we work remotely anyway. So thankfully that kind of went on uninterrupted. But we finished it finally in the winter of this year. And it's, beyond having it done and kind of wanting to re-engage and share tunes with folks, it seemed like a good time to kind of, as things were feeling a little bit safer, and it seemed like with vaccines being on the horizon, that playing music live in some capacity could be a realistic proposition at some point this year. Hopefully that's the case, but even not, I mean, I think one thing for me that's really been borne out throughout quarantine is that and I'm very privileged and thankful to say this at the outset, but there's more to our lives than just having our basic needs met. We can have, if we're very privileged enough to have shelter and food and reliable employment, there's more to life than simply existing. And I really feel like hopefully this is a moment, and I'm not just saying this for myself, but kind of across the board, especially for people that make their living solely from playing music or making art, is that it's a really valuable pursuit, and it has a lot of intrinsic value in and of itself beyond any commercial returns. And I really feel like this is a really good moment to kind of focus in on that and really, as a community, decide what's valuable about our art scene, because when it's gone, we all notice that it's gone. And I think it leaves a big hole that can't be filled with anything else, So that all being said, it seemed like a good, kind of a somewhat hopeful moment amongst all of the challenges we've been in through a country and a society, to put out some new tunes this spring.
Absolutely. And thank you for putting out new music at this time. That's the thing that has been getting me through quarantine, is being able to listen to new music, specifically from our local music scene.
Mm-hmm.
It's been incredible just to hear what people have been doing or how they've been feeling during this process, because you are a group of people who I think have had it. I mean, yes, people have it bad in various levels, but I feel like the music scene in general has just had it the worst.
Oh my gosh, yeah, totally.
Y'all have been incredible, putting out new music, writing new music, doing live streams, doing all the things. Like, you're the only group that probably, I gotta be careful how I say it, probably the only group who I would see would be protesting quarantine right now. You'd be like, open up the music venues, but you're not part of that group, that you still, you care, you understand that this has been like what we have to do. And that, you're not part of the group that's open my gym, my hair salon, you're not part of that group. And I would see why you guys would be like, hey, this is, some people, you're right, you just said, this is what they do for a living. This is how, and to have it all shut down, I can't imagine how difficult that's been for you and for just all musicians in general.
Yeah, well, and I should qualify that I'm very fortunate that I have a side gig that pays the bills. But yeah, I mean, for my friends and fellow musicians who are, they've only made their living, touring or making music, it has been exceedingly tough for them, for sure. But yeah, same as what you said, I think it's been really inspiring to see what people have come up with and during quarantine, and just again kind of doubling down on the intrinsic value of what art brings, and that it can be really connecting and healing even in this moment of mass disconnection.
Absolutely. Those live streams, they've helped me get through. They've helped me get through. I also cry during them because I'm just so overwhelmed with emotion. It's been a tough year.
Yeah. And it's going to be so cathartic to, finally go to a show of any type, and just feel the feeling of bass amps blasting you in the chest, or, we'll get there, hopefully. But yeah, I cannot wait for that first moment.
I look forward to, and remember, I don't like to be at a sold out show. I mean, I love it when a show sells out for artists and everyone. I like to have my little bubble, but I can't wait for my bubble to be broken. I just can't wait for someone else to sweat on me, dump their drink on me because they tripped or something, or they're getting too excited, or maybe I'll do that. That was pretty easy to flail my arms up in the air. Who knows what's going to happen?
Right.
Everyone's going to want a bubble from me, but I just, I can't wait. I can't wait for that moment either. It's going to be very exciting.
Oh my gosh, totally.
So, second album from Orchid Eaton. How was this different from your first album? What are some of the differences?
So, I mean, primarily the first record was kind of me learning how to do home recording, and, kind of the, slow cataloging of me trying to find kind of what my voice was and what my vibe was outside of my then primary project. But now Orchid Eaton is kind of my primary songwriting vehicle. But at that time, I felt like it was a really really useful vehicle to explore just kind of more unguarded songwriting across the board, and just to kind of lean into different instrumentation that would kind of bring forth different lyrical content, or just it seemed more limitless at that point, and it was really exciting, not only exploring that whole process on the first record, but that Brian was equally into it and willing to put his drums on it and mix it. I'm a huge fan of basically everything he's done. So for me, that was, I was just over the moon about it. And through that process, we created a really simpatico working relationship. And it is kind of been a natural extension of that, I think, for both of us. Not only exploring what these songs could be kind of more at a multi-revision level. So a lot of these songs have kind of started with some ideas that have been pretty bare bones for me, but Brian would add quite a lot and kind of put it into shape, and that would spark more ideas. So it's, this time around, much more collaborative kind of on every level, including the songwriting and the production choices, and also the mixing too. But also both of us are pretty, infected, I guess is maybe the wrong word during COVID, but just like, we both run studios at home, and I don't think either of us would lay claim to being great engineers. But it's part of the process of really searching for something that feels honest and feels right for the tunes. And not just for this project too, but other things as well. So it's also kind of cataloging how high a fidelity we can make in the limitations of a basement studio, but still searching for the most honest representation of the tunes too. So all those being put together, it was really a really rewarding experience to work with Brian again. And I'm already starting to kind of craft a few nuggets of ideas for something that will come after this too. But yeah, we just have a really unspoken workflow that works really well for me, and I'm still just like totally jazzed I get to make music with Brian, because he takes whatever I give him and makes it exponentially better.
That album is incredible. I've been listening to it. Keith, thanks.
Thanks for checking it out. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Oh, and it's so, I don't know, it's so beautiful. I feel, just a little touch of some like 70s rock in there. Am I wrong?
Oh yeah, no, 100%. I mean,
influence.
Right. Yeah, no, definitely 70s tonality is like where we live. 100%. Like that's the kind of sounds that make, I think me excited and get Brian excited as well. But, I think it's taking those tonalities and like, trying to put them in a modern context as well. So, but absolutely it's, taking those tonalities and some of those chord ideas, and I think just some of the vibe as much as possible, without being, totally, we're not a retro band. We're not like trying to just live in a bygone era. I think it's just, those are the sounds that really feel most true to this project anyway.
Kind of like, yeah, take the tonality of it. I love that word. I'm going to use that word a lot now, tonality. And it just made it your own. And it's just, I think that's what it is. It's the 70s influenced tonality. I love that word. I am so obsessed now. And then just made it your own. And it just came out. It just sounds amazing. I just really like it.
Oh, thanks so much I really appreciate you checking it out.
Oh my goodness. Of course. So I'm trying to think what I was going to ask next. I forgot. I'm just obsessed with tonality. I'll just keep.
Yeah, well, and we were both talking earlier that, we just live in this fog of, either an endless day or maybe both the same, the endless day or the day that never, that keeps repeating itself over and over again.
Exactly. Yes. It's the quarantine fog has hit me in the face.
Absolutely.
It is. So where can people find the album?
So it's on all the usual streaming sites. It'll be released on Bandcamp and YouTube Music, iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, etc. It's going to be just digital for the time being, but we will do a physical release at some point this summer, just for people that really want it, can have more of a tactile listening experience.
Very cool. I remember what I was going to ask you. I was going to ask you about your single Blue Light. What do you want to talk about? The Blue Light. The Blue Light song. I don't know. I have no idea what I'm saying right now. I've only had water today. Is the problem? I don't know.
It's good to be hydrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Blue Light is the first kind of tune signal from the record. We did release a kind of a music video for the first track on the album, which is Said Just Right, and that released online 2 weeks ago now. So that's there. If people want to check it out, that's kind of the introductory statement for it. But Blue Light is, seemed like the right song to kind of present to folks too. Really the genesis behind that song in particular is, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, like this project allows, or kind of one of my guiding principles of this project is to be as direct as possible. And, people may have different definitions of what direct means, but for me, it's, not ever being satisfied with the surface level or being satisfied with kind of, hiding intentions behind wordplay or, purposely being obscure, to try and like get down to the center always. And, that can be both really rewarding, but it can also be kind of uncomfortable to kind of lean into those moments or those tendencies that I have, and all this is self-referential in some way or another. But to try and be as honest as possible. And so a lot of that was kind of when I was working on getting sober from alcohol, just and other kind of basic tendencies too that got me into trouble. I guess I would call them thinking mistakes, or really overemphasizing dualistic thinking, and trying to kind of come to grips with that, and kind of try to recognize it and hold it close, but to leave it in the rearview mirror as much as possible. That kind of encapsulated with, carrying a lot of, or kind of having to live these, bifurcated lives of being a parent and trying to kind of hold this sense of joy and sense of safety and sense of, beautiful feelings for these little people, while kind of creating a shell against what has been really difficult reckonings, either politically speaking, or climate change, which is just kind of like a not so much a low hum anymore, but just like a blaring foghorn alarm that is always there, and it's always just a, primary anxiety. So kind of holding all those feelings together, and hopefully allowing for like those moments of joy while leaning into some pretty some pretty purposeful self-reflection, I guess I could say.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you. Getting a little deep there, which is great. I'm not. Wow, there's a lot of layers. I can't wait to go back and listen to Blue Light again after hearing you talk about it.
Yeah, and like, one of my since I work alone, a lot of the time, and primarily it wasn't always the case during, pre-COVID, but a lot of time of working on tunes alone, there's a great freedom in that I do enjoy, but it can get a little insular too. And I think that's part of the vibe of this project too, though, is to really understand and accept what's going on up there as much as I can. And hopefully that is a connection point for other people too, as much as it is. Obviously everyone's, process is different, but yeah, I mean, I think that we're all in need of something across the wires to connect to now.
Absolutely. Connection's very important during this time, no matter how you can do it.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Whether it's via Zoom or, but yeah, I guess via Zoom or there are other methods. I feel like I've been very creative, or I had to be creative on how I can stay connected to my friends or to the things that I do like to do during this past year, because it has been tough.
Mm-hmm. And I think, like you were saying earlier too, just, we can all approach those moments in life that, like going to a sold out show and just feeling like, oh God, I'm feeling a little agoraphobic right now, but like, being able to look at those instances with new eyes too. Like, I think we're all going to be in that zone of just being like, wow, I appreciate, hopefully, like if you're in the position that, of that you could just be, more appreciative of what's happening around us.
Absolutely. I hope we can all, I mean, yeah, I can't believe what we've gone through, what we've seen in the past year. And yeah, hopefully I know I'm coming out of this a lot more grateful for everything. And I hope that everyone does too. It sounds like we're on the same path here, Matt.
Totally. Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to talk about? Album?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, those are kind of the big highlights. I will say that, regardless of what happens with live shows, it's just really, like I was talking about before about just the intrinsic value of making music with no sense of, the primary method of interfacing with people face to face is gone. It's just kind of all, it exists in a, the kind of the ether. But regardless of that, I think it's, really worthwhile to, I 100% agree with you that listening to new music over this period is really really been helpful and really been healing, and not just new music too, but like kind of diving in on artists that I wasn't familiar with, and kind of exploring some of those rabbit holes too. But the whole process of it for me it's really kind of grounded my foundation in what is important about making music. And I think, just for me personally, I definitely got sidetracked historically about, what was important about the process of it, or what was the end goal, or was it a means to an end? And I think really the practice of it is very important to me personally, and I know to a lot of other people it is too. Just the possibility of connection is so important.
Absolutely. Matt. Thank you so much for joining me. It's a pleasure to have you back on the show. I love a returning guest.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on and letting me chat about the record. And I really appreciate that.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Always welcome back at MSP Sound anytime. And you can find the brand new album, Where All Ends Meet, out April 23rd on all the streams, and check it out on Bandcamp.